Yeah, nice to meet you.
Man, Alex, what a pleasure.
Yeah, nice to meet you guys.
Alex, nice to
I
meet
like
you.
Sultan.
Nice to meet you as well.
Ready? Have a seat. Have a seat.
Good, bro. Right here, champ. This is your chair right here.
Right.
Okay.
So we're gonna go live on the Illinois Media School Facebook page. Then afterwards, it'll be put into the Chicagoland Sports Radio, so it'll be broadcasted right after. Okay. Once we get all the
Quick question.
download
I
and
don't
everything.
want to butcher your last name. It's Argueta?
Argueta.
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 Perfect. I was just telling them, you know, we're Mexican, right? So we say everything differently. You know, everyone has a different saying. When you know, 'cause with Hispanic culture, like
I'm gonna
everyone has
spell it
different
like it sounds.
Okay.
Argueta.
Pizza. Pizza.
exactly right.
Pizza.
It's just true though.
El Pepsi? El Pepsi.
The Pepsi, right, exactly.
Okay.
All right.
Hold on, y'all.
Go ahead.
I'm doing a lot.
Let's see. This is the best corner to be in, honestly. You get all of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are the questions?
St-
Sorry.
Standard question. We're just gonna talk about you, like how you rose up from in Orland Park, your journey into the UFC, stuff like that, and then I guess some basic fun MMA questions.
Bullshit. All right.
Favorite fighter,
I
stuff
want to
like
ask you if
that.
it's cool about your surgery.
Yeah.
You can talk about that. Your next upcoming fight, which is in January. Want to talk about a comment that you posted on Instagram? I thought that was pretty funny.
Okay.
Is that cool?
Yeah.
All right, awesome. And that's pretty much it. And I'll talk about a few of your fights.
Real quick,
You
y'all want me
featherweight,
to
right?
close the door?
What's that?
Fighting
Yeah.
at featherweight.
You're
You
fighting
wanna
up
come
at
in,
featherweight.
or-
Yeah, I've been fighting at bantamweight.
Bantamweight for.
I made my debut at featherweight,
Yeah,
Okay.
have fun.
and
Nice.
that's it was because it was on 10 days' notice.
Oh, shit. Okay. All right, got it.
Nice.
All
All right,
Let me know whenever you're ready.
we're ready. We're ready in 3.
Oh, no, it's all right.
It's okay if you guys need to move back and forth. I get it. You know, it's fine. We'll work with it. All right. We'll put the countdown on.
ORLANDSportsRadio.com. It's not just sports, it's a way of life. You in tune right now with Alex the One, getting it done. Yo, Latino extraordinaire. And with me in the building, I got...
What's going on, everybody? Jose Contreras in the building, and we got a special guest for them, Alex.
We got a very special guest. And check this out. This is special because we are streaming live right now on
Yes.
the Illinois Media School
Yes.
Facebook page. So before I introduce our guest to the audience, let me just tell you a little backstory about him, right? So he is a MMA fighter, a mixed martial arts warrior. You know, he is 5'7", 145 pounds, ranging from Orland Park, Illinois, which is the south suburb of Chicago. He is currently fighting at featherweight. Please help me give it up for Dan, the determined Argueta.
Hey, you give Bruce Buffer a run for his money, man. Let me tell you, you give him a run for his money.
And Bruce Buffer.
And Bruce Buffer,
El
Bruce
El
Buffer,
Bruce.
exactly.
El Bruce. So Dan, let me tell you, man, you have a very, very impressive career so far in MMA.
Absolutely.
And check this out. If you guys don't know this about him, he has 8 wins, 2 knockouts, right?
Right.
4 submissions, 2 decision wins, 5 wins in the first round. the
First round finishes.
Exactly. And he has 1 loss by decision.
Impressive.
That is impressive.
Impressive. Very
It's,
impressive.
You ate your Wheaties as a kid, right?
I'm
Chocomini?
lactose intolerant.
Oh, that's no
Oh.
good. That's no good. That's no good.
Didn't drink enough milk. That's why I'm only 5'7".
All right.
That's,
So
I don't like milk, so that's okay with me. I'm not a fan of milk. I'm not a fan of milk.
I'm not a fan of being tall either.
Right.
Oh,
Hey, I'm 5'7" too. I feel your pain. I feel your pain. I feel your pain. So it's a very special treat having you here today, and we have a bunch of questions, and we're gonna try to get to them as soon as possible. There's some good stuff I want to talk about. Definitely your upcoming fight, because that's exciting, right?
of course.
All right. So the very first question I want to ask you is, how did you get into the sport in the first place?
You know, it was a dream when I was an 11-year-old kid. That dream kind of disappeared. I just kept on going to high school, hanging out with friends, you know, wrestling my whole life. And my final year of college, I felt burnt out from the sport. I said, okay, I'm done competing. I want to go work in Chicago. I want to grow up. I'm done with this.
Right.
I quit the wrestling team my final year. I was one of the team captains and ended up on a mat like 3 weeks later. I ended up back in a wrestling room coaching, and then I'm working with MMA fighters, and I was like, oh, this isn't done yet. This isn't done. And I made that deal with myself that, all right, I'm going to chase this. Within 2 months of quitting wrestling, I said, okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna chase this. I can meet the right people, and I can have the right resources to make it very far in this.
So if I understand correctly, you started at a very young age, at the age of 8,
Yes.
as a wrestler.
Yes.
So is that something that you wanted to do, or is that something that maybe you got influenced by family, friends?
So my brother was in high school during the time, and people that are familiar with wrestling know that Carl Sandburg in Orland Park. It's always a top tier wrestling school. People from California have heard of the school.
Oh.
It's a top tier wrestling school, and growing up in that area, you're gonna play football, you're gonna wrestle. I'm short. I'm a little guy.
Yeah.
My brother said, "You're going into wrestling." All my friends that wrestled are badass. So I was like, "Going into wrestling." Little 8-year-old kid, and the rest is history. I just kept going and
Just
kept
kept
going.
going, kept pursuing it.
Yep.
So wrestling, okay. So you're an MMA fighter right now.
Yes.
So as a kid, did you want to be? I mean, MMA wasn't around. I mean, were just the
It was around.
aspirations?
It was around. It,
was
just
as-
probably wasn't as big as it
as
was today,
big?
Oh,
but it
not
definitely
even
was around.
close.
Yeah.
I was 11 years old, and my mom gave me $20. We went to Best Buy. I was gonna buy a video game, and I looked in that discount bin, and I seen 2 UFC DVDs. I'm like, I grabbed 2 DVDs.
Nice.
George St. Pierre, Matt Hughes,
Oh,
Frank
my God.
Trigg. I'm watching these guys fight.
Legend.
It was a BJ Penn fight on there, and I'm like watching these fights, and I came across those DVDs last night. They're still in my desk in my room.
I was just gonna ask, like, which fighter influenced you the most? But those you named some legends, some welterweight legends, and Matt Hughes, George St. Pierre, and of course BJ Penn was just amazing at what he
And
did.
that turned into my dream. And then after I'm watching this, I'm like,
Right.
this is cool. And career day was coming up. We're in 6th grade, and everyone, growing up in Orland Park, what do you think the jobs were that kids were picking?
Probably police officer, fire department. You know the usual. You know what I mean?
Those are the usual
Lawyers,
kid
right?
jobs.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
want to be a doctor. My dumb ass said I want to be a cage fighter.
Oh boy!
I'm the only Hispanic kid in my junior high, and I said I want to be a cage fighter.
There you go.
The assignment was make a brochure, make a PowerPoint, do a poster, make something. And so I made a brochure.
Right.
And in the brochure, I listed, certain guys in the job, including Matt Hughes, George
Right.
St. Pierre. I listed how much they get paid, what are some camps, who are coaches, the length of the job, what the job entails. I was 11. I almost wrote out my future. I wrote out my future. I
He
said,
came prepared.
It's a storyboard.
I wrote
It's
it
a
out. And I
storyboard.
said, okay, probably only gonna make this much. I knew stepping into it. Okay, it's gonna be hard to make money. And then I wrote a training schedule, an average schedule, and I was like, "Ooh, that's hard. You're gonna be training, 4 to 8 hours a day."
Yeah.
And then I wrote down MMA masterminds. Greg Jackson and Mike Winklejohn.
Yep.
They were the coaches of George St. Pierre's camp.
Yep.
That is the camp I ended up starting at.
Nice.
That's my first MMA
Nice.
gym. Coach Jackson's my
Nice.
head MMA coach. He's the mastermind. He's the one who basically decides if I'm fighting or not. And he's watched my back in New Mexico ever since. So I said that when I was 11.
How did that come to fruition? I mean, that's where you're at right now. You're at the
know.
Jackson Wink MMA camp. You're
That-
training with guys like Cup Swanson.
Yeah.
Like,
That
these
started
are some
because
legit fighters.
Izzy Martinez, one of the best high school wrestlers to ever come out of Illinois. He runs his own wrestling academy out in Addison.
Yeah.
They create champion. They're a champion factory, basically. They send guys to all the Big Ten schools in the country, mostly, guys to Michigan, to Iowa to go wrestle. Kids, Latino kids, and kids that are just hardworking, where they, their parents need them to go do something after school. He builds these kids up, and it's amazing how he does it. It's amazing.
That's dope.
And when I'm talking about those kids, he went to New Mexico and he's training John Jones and Holly Holm, and they say, hey, you got to meet this kid. His name is Real Woods. He wrestles at Iowa right now. He's top contender for an NCAA title this year. He's
Nice.
from New Mexico. In 8th grade, the kid moved out to Chicago to wrestle under Coach Izzy and lived here like a college student throughout his high school.
Nice, nice. So
A little kid, and he's that's one of the reasons where I was like, okay, if I'm gonna do this, that kid came out here to get the best wrestling coach.
Mhm.
This wrestling coach wants to send me out there to get the best MMA training. It's like, if this kid can do it,
Right.
I'm gonna do it.
You don't gotta go nowhere at all.
I'm gonna go there.
Right.
I'm gonna go to his home, and those are the best guys. He understood that as a little kid, so I'm gonna understand it as an adult with a responsibility to achieve this.
absolutely, that's awesome, man.
That really
You
is.
see potential at such a young age,
Yeah.
and then you see them blossom into what they're supposed to be,
Yeah.
which is a fighter, a wrestler, an MMA fighter.
Yeah.
So I got a question for you. I have to ask this. So 4 of your wins have been submissions.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about submissions. What's your favorite submission to use in a fight?
It depends where the fight ends up. It depends who you're fighting. If I take their back, I want to choke them. If I'm on my back, I want to choke them. If I'm on their leg, I want to choke them.
Okay, that sounds like a plan.
So
That sounds like a plan.
The rear naked choke definitely is. We seen it this past Saturday too in UFC 281. It hurts, man. Once they apply that pressure, it's over. When you got to either tap out or you're gonna be out. You're going to sleep.
3 of those victories were the rear naked choke. One was an armbar.
Yeah.
that armbar almost got submission of the year in LFA.
Oh,
should have
my
gotten
God.
Okay,
I
okay.
should have gotten it. People saw me hit it, and it was so smooth, and like, dang, like the fact that you did it so smooth, and high pressure co-main event fight right after being on the Ultimate Fighter. They don't realize it's a numbers game with submissions. I hit that submission 100 times during training camp,
Right.
and I may have got it 10, 15 times.
Mhm.
It's bound to happen
Yeah.
in a fight, in competition, if you just keep on going for it. And that night, it was my night. I won the lottery that night.
There you go.
It was my number.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So do you prefer taking them to the ground, or do you prefer to stand with your opponent?
You know what? People always ask that, and you kind of got to give it's a give and take.
Yeah.
If I can beat them up with wrestling's hard, man.
I know it is.
Wrestling's hard. If I can beat them up without going for a takedown, great. If I have to go for a takedown because I'm getting beat up standing, all right, so be it. It's going to be a little harder. Whenever I think of what I prefer, just path of least resistance. If I'm fighting a wrestler, let's not wrestle. I'm going to get too tired.
Right. Exactly.
Wink, wink, right?
Right, exactly.
I haven't been wrestling.
Right. Exactly.
Mhm.
If I'm fighting a kickboxer, wrestle. Hurry up. You're not getting paid more to be in there longer. Be safe. Get in there. Get out if you
Be smart.
Nice.
Be smart.
You mentioned the UFC Ultimate Fighter. How did that come to fruition? What was your experience like going through that? Because it's a really fun show to watch.
It was awesome.
It's fun.
That was another dream,
Yeah,
As a little kid,
absolutely.
we're watching that.
Right.
I'm like, these guys are crazy. Well, fast forward, now I'm one of the crazy guys on the show.
Wow.
It was cool. It's one thing to be in the UFC. It's another thing to be a part of the Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah.
It's such a small fraternity of men and women. To know that you got picked worldwide to be on that show.
Right.
And compete just in front of Dana White, it's cool. It was different. It was something I needed. I always say it this way: it was a vehicle for my career to get to where I am now.
Yep.
I put my name on the map, and it showed people, oh man, this guy's a fun fighter. He's a fun personality. This guy's cool. And I never I don't care much for not being myself. But I want people to know, hey, myself, fun. I'm cool. I'm fun.
Right.
I like to hang out with people. I like to get crazy. I like You know, I'm a normal guy.
Yeah.
Normal guy from the Midwest.
Right.
You know, that's how I think about it. Normal
Yeah.
guy from the Midwest that I can walk in anywhere and get along, have fun, enjoy it, and make friends. And that's what I wanted the show to do. You know, it worked out perfectly.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, if you could be the best fighter in the world, but if no one wants to sit down and watch you fight, no one wants to sit down and watch you fight. If no one wants to
That's true.
follow you online and see what you're up to. It's unfortunate. You know,
Yeah.
you're not going to make it as far. And luckily, I get to be myself and still get to acquire, you know, fans and new friends. It's cool.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was amazing. It looked like an amazing experience for sure. And the goal still was accomplished, right? You're in the UFC
And
today.
I got a free fight out of it.
Exactly, right.
I got a free fight out
Yeah,
of it.
free fight out of it.
You know, I lost, but it showed. It was like a test, you know, experience. I'm fighting a guy with he had almost 3 times as many fights as me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, and I brought him to that split decision. It's like, oh,
Damon
cool, that's-
Jackson.
no, that was Ricky Tercios, an
Tercios.
Ultimate Fighter.
Oh, okay.
He's in the UFC now as well. He ended up winning the whole show. But you know, it was a test, and then you know, I lost. I lose the test. It still benefited me.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, it still benefited me.
Absolutely.
I needed that. Saw where I was. You know, fixed a lot of those mistakes that I made, and now we're back in it. You know, I always said I would get to the party. I just didn't know when.
Got you. So your first official MMA fight was back in 2019. Is that correct? May 3rd?
That was my first pro fight. Yeah.
Pro fight. Okay. Now this is impressive, all right? Because when I think of MMA, you have to have a lot of stamina. You have to be smart. You have to be clever. You have to be strong. You have to be fast. You need all those things in order to guarantee a win. In your second fight, you won in 1 minute and 52 seconds by submission. That is very impressive. I mean, if you like you're watching the fight and go to the bathroom and come back, you missed the whole fight. You know, you beat him up in 1 minute and 52 seconds.
That's why they didn't let me fight at home.
wow.
That's why I fought
Okay.
all over. I fought in California, no fan. I always got to play bad guy. I didn't put. You gotta think. I'm not putting fans in the seats, or if I was putting fans in
Right.
the seats, because let's say that I had family and friends out there, they would drink for 1.5 minutes and then they'd all get the after party. They'd all leave
Yes,
and
sir.
go to the after party.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Right.
sir.
So I had to go fight on across enemy lines.
I got you. So back in May 6, 22, you were officially a champion. Is that correct?
Yes.
So talk about that experience. LFA. You came home with the belt against Diego Silva. Tell me what that felt like after all those years of training as a child to be a wrestler, going through all the experience that you went through, fighting as a professional fighter. I believe that was your 7th fight. Your seventh fight.
pro fight. Yes.
7th pro fight, and you came home with that belt.
It was. Oh, man. I constantly think about the feeling. I'll even say this: that belt was sitting underneath our coffee table, like on like a shelf in my girlfriend's apartment.
Yeah.
It was just sitting there collecting dust, and I'd wipe it off every once in a while, and I'm like, why am I wiping this off? I'm like, that's in the past. It's in the past.
Mhm.
I'm over it. I gave it to my mentor who brought me all that way. I'm his first world champion.
Yeah.
He's best friends with Greg Jackson out of New Mexico. That's who I lived with. And I'm like, here, this is yours. This is for the house. This is for all the fighters that come through here to show that, for you to show them, hey, this is the standard. I'm the first guy.
Yeah.
This is the standard of
Path to success
you're
right there.
chasing before, you know, we get to the big show.
Yep.
That's the blueprint. But on that night, I could say multiple things. Diego Silva, now he's one of my friends. Him and I
Silva.
talk. He's crazy. You know, him and I went in there, had war with each other.
Some
you know.
battles.
I was yelling at him in Portuguese in between rounds.
Yeah.
In between rounds, I'm yelling at him in Portuguese, and we're yelling at each other. You know, we're both trying to wipe blood off each other's face. Like
Mhm.
it was wild. It was intimate. You know, that shit. You don't share that with people.
Right.
Mhm.
You know, being able to beat the shit out of each other and then your friends afterwards. You know, it was a couple things. It was the hardest sports moment of my life.
And that's one thing that you really got to think about. Like, you go to war with guys in that octagon, but then afterwards, it's all love. It's all respect. You know what I mean?
It's all business?
Because not even that. It's because all the journey leading up to that fight, all
We
the
did
training and
everything.
everything together.
You did everything
Yeah.
possible to get rid of that person.
Exactly.
They're still there. Like it's
Exactly.
you did everything. Like, but you're still gonna be mad. You had a chance to be mad at him in there. Drop it.
Right.
Let
Drop
loose the
it.
frustration.
Yeah, drop it. You had the chance to be mad at him for 25 minutes. Like that's the reason. Like when people want to ask about like my upcoming fights, I'm like, I don't care. I care that hey, I want you guys to watch because I'm preparing.
Yeah.
I don't care about that guy. I'm doing my thing. You know, I don't need to talk about them. I respect them for stepping up to the plate to fight me. Without them, I don't have a job.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and that being said, like, why am I gonna try to start arguments? It doesn't get in my head, so I'm like, why am I trying to do that to someone else? I was like, I'm gonna fight you. That's gonna be the most. That's all of our frustration. I'm gonna fight you. When I get in there, I think you're not even a person anymore. It's just a bag of meat.
Right.
You know, that's time for me to go.
That's
play.
put out to slaughter. You just
Yeah,
gotta go
That's it.
get the job done.
It's not personal. That's it.
Yeah.
You don't bring emotions into it. When you don't do that, now your body's a machine. You know, you think like a machine. It's just going through the motions.
So what is your goal right now? What is something that you're chasing right
I wanna
now
be a
as
world
far as
champion.
world champion in the UFC or just in general?
In the UFC.
The UFC?
Like the LFA title was
Yeah.
great. I needed that. You know, that's like winning the. Yes, it's an international show, but when we're thinking about it, when you think of UFC, you think of America, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's in the States.
Yeah, it's in
That's
the
where
States.
headquarters is. When you think of LFA, it's Brazil and America. You got a lot of the toughest Brazilians. Pereira fought in LFA.
Yeah, Brady did follow that.
You
Yep.
know, and
Just won this past Saturday.
and so you got to think it's like the SEC of the NFL.
Oh, then
Everyone's watching. The best
Everybody,
guys,
yeah.
they're all gonna be in the NFL.
Yeah.
That's what LFA is. And so I did that, and I was like, I couldn't figure out why I wasn't satisfied. I watched the post fight, and I'm like, I look like such an ass, like not being proud of that belt right then and there. I was proud of it. I was very
Yeah.
proud of it. You know, I knew people were proud of me for it, but there was still something empty in it. It was okay. I want my UFC contract. I got my UFC contract, still empty, man. Still empty inside. Still
Job's not done.
It's because it was expected of me to get there. Everyone expected it. I didn't have any excuses, I didn't go through a crazy hard, life that was like sad or anything. I had a great family, a great upbringing, great friends, great, support, great gym, everything. Everything was like set up for me perfect, and I had to make it hard. My dad always says, "Oh, you love to suffer." I do it to myself. Oh man, this is too easy. Let me go run in the mountains for 5 miles.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll help me feel like it's tough. Stuff that ordinary people don't like to go do. Like I said, I have no excuses not to go get more, not to go achieve more. That's why it feels empty. So obviously the goal is win this next fight. That's what I have to do. And then go on there.
Speaking of your next fight, he's a tough one.
Oh yeah.
He's 5-0.
Yeah.
You guys are fighting in Vegas.
I remember a guy that was 5-0.
Ooh. And I gotta ask this because I saw this. This is on your Instagram page. And as soon as I read it, I was like, ooh, I gotta ask him this question, right? So it goes. Contract signed at UFC. And the quote is, "I'm no stranger to handing up and coming prospects their first losses."
Yeah.
So you're looking forward to giving him his first L.
Absolutely.
Of course.
Oh man.
It's like I said, I don't like to talk bad about people because he's giving me a job. I respect him. But it's my job to go out there and get my job done. I fought my first undefeated guy the fight before the title fight. 10-0, 20-year-old or 21-year-old Brazilian. They were calling him the next Anderson Silva out of Brazil. And I'm like,
that's some big comparison.
I was like, he's got twice as many fights as me, and he's only 21. All these knockouts. I'm like, so nervous. I went in there and I put an ass whooping on. I told the referees before the fight, they were backstage. I said, "Hey, I'm gonna elbow this kid in the face a lot." I said, "Please end the fight if it gets bad." And you can, if you watch the the recordings of that fight, you hear me yelling at the referee as I'm elbowing this kid in the face, telling the referee to stop it. Because I was like, he's taking too much damage. That was the last time I fought someone that was undefeated.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So Isaac, be careful. Isaac, be careful. He said it. He's gonna do what he has to do in order for him to get to the UFC championship belt. However, there is the last fight that you had was in 2022 with in January.
Damon the Leech Jackson.
Damon the Leech Jackson. Yeah.
So we are now in February. So you had a shoulder injury, am I correct?
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
You know, I wrestling is a tough sport. Lots of wear and tear. After the fight, I noticed that, you know, I couldn't lift. They had me in a sling after I fought. My last 2 fights, you know, you see me fighting and doing this, you would never guess after the fight that I'd have to be in a sling because I can't lift my arms up after the fight.
Wow.
My shoulders were that torn up. So they, you know, they went in, they cleaned me up. I didn't know I was fighting with a detached bicep for the last year. Like, all this stuff I'm finding out. I'm like, oh man, you know, people are wondering how I did that. You know, I'd be going to practices and my teammates would be teasing me like, you can't do push-ups. And I'm like, dude, fuck off. Like, I want to do push-ups. I
train here.
Can't. It hurts. Like it. And they're like, whatever, you're being a baby. And I'm like, I felt like a baby because I'm like, I'm a pro fighter. I can't even do a damn push-up. Make my UFC debut. I'm like, hey, let's go get this checked out now that we got the health insurance.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
We go get it checked out, and they're like, yo, what did you do? Like, my shoulders were mangled.
Wow.
And I was like, oh. And, you know, they cleaned me up, got me in there with the best doctors. Shout out to Dr. Hussein out in California. He's the man. He made sure I don't even got scars.
Nice.
Awesome.
I healed like Wolverine.
Nice.
I was back in the gym at half the time. The average time I was back in there, half the amount of time.
So I saw a video of you actually at the gym, one hand in the sling and the other one, you know, doing the workout, whatever. When you finally got that sling off, is it you have to go hard because you got to get back in shape to where you were? Do you take it easy because you don't want to risk getting hurt again? Like, what's the prospect, especially when this fight is coming up very soon?
So I was out of the sling in 2 weeks.
Oh, nice.
Usually it takes people about 2 months. I was out in 2 weeks, not doing anything with it, letting it run its path, recover, you know, doing easy things with it, not pushing it. And, you know, my friends, my family, my coaches really made sure, Dan, stay away from the gym. Stay off the mat. Stay away. Like, I have a problem. I like to train. I like to fight. You know, so they had to force me to stay away. Just do your therapy, do your physical therapy. And so that's all I focused on. I don't think people knew this, but I went into that therapy or into that surgery like it was a fight. I lost weight for it. I put on muscle for it. I dieted for it. I psyched myself out for it, just like it was a fight. I treated it like a training camp.
Yeah.
You know, because I had a month to prepare for the surgery. I didn't want to be lazy for a month and then, okay, now you get surgery. Imagine how lazy you're going to be after the surgery if you were already lazy before. Like it wouldn't have been good. You know, so right after the surgery, they had me flown out to Vegas 24 hours after, already doing therapy out of the sling and moving it. And I was like, oh man, this is serious. They're building me back. They gave me the best surgery. Now it's time to build me back up so I can get back in there and compete.
There you go.
So we expected it.
So for this upcoming fight, do you change your strategy a little?
No.
You still go?
Yeah, you
100%.
still go win.
100%.
Yeah, you still go win.
Okay.
Absolutely right. The strategy is to win. That's it.
Strategy stays the same every time. You gotta expect to win. You gotta go in there and just do what's important. Take care of business. You know, obviously we train. At least I do. I train expecting a war.
Right.
I train expecting a 5-round, 25-minute war every time. This is only a 3-round fight.
Right.
If I'm ready for 5, like I said, after I did a 5-round fight, that was the hardest sports event I've ever had to do. That's the strategy. We train for a 5-round war. If we don't get a war out of it, sweet. That's the best.
I'm definitely excited.
I know, me too.
definitely
I'm
excited.
excited for it.
Go ahead.
But with that being said, you're moving up to featherweight for this fight.
Yes, exactly. That's where I made my UFC debut, actually.
Yeah.
Because it was on 10 days' notice.
Is that where you're gonna stay? You permanently, or you
No,
move
I'm
back down to
playing with
bantamweight?
fire, man. I'm
Right?
playing with fire, staying up there. These
Naturally
guys are-
bantamweight, right?
Yes,
Right.
yes. These guys at 45, they're too big. I walk around between 165 and 170, low 170s. These 145ers are walking around at 175 plus 180. Like they're big. You know, they got knockout power.
The champion up there is tough too. Volkanovski, he's legit. He's moving up
And
himself.
he's little, but he used to weigh 230 pounds.
Yeah, he did.
He has that. I don't have that. The heaviest I've been 175 pounds. So
Yeah.
it's like I can't do that. That's why I got to go down to my natural weight. And,
Right.
Make some noise. But first, let me shake up the featherweight.
Yeah, absolutely. Why not?
Make these guys sweat a little bit before I
Right.
go down.
Is there a dream fight that you have in mind that you may want to get into while in the UFC?
Well, usually when you say your dreams out loud like that, you kind of jinx them.
Or you're manifesting it? It can go either way.
Speaking to
It-
the universe.
It's all about the way you think, right? It's all about what energy you're putting out into the world. So it can go either way. But you are right. I can't be superstitious like that as well.
I have a couple.
You have a wish list?
Yeah,
A
I have a
wish list.
couple, and that list, guys get knocked off of it because I'm like, I'm not good enough. Guys get added to it because I'm like, oh, I can
Right.
take care of that guy. The list changes all the time.
Put it into the world. Put it out.
Rey Mysterio.
I love Rey
No, I'm
Mysterio.
kidding.
One of my favorite wrestlers, Rey Mysterio. We just had a podcast last week about
Sure
that, so
did.
a couple weeks
Sure
ago.
did. We
Yeah,
sure
Rey Mysterio is one
No,
of the great.
I don't know, man. I'll say this. Today, I did not wake up with a dream fight because my dream fight right now is Isaac Delgari.
There you go.
That's my dream
I love
fight
that
right
answer.
now.
That's a good answer.
You don't have a dream fight and think, oh, I'm going to lose. No, you got a dream fight
Yeah.
and your only option is to win.
Speaking of different styles, as far as MMA, you consider yourself wrestling, but I also read in your profile it's Mexican judo. Is that correct? That's what I read online. It said Mexican judo.
Yeah.
Mexican judo. So
Yeah.
there's a joke. I don't know if you know it. Mexican judo. You know that joke? You
What-
don't know if I have a you don't know if I have a this.
Well,
You don't know who you're messing with.
Yeah,
folks.
that's right, that's right. So what is Mexican judo?
It was a joke.
It's
joke.
supposed to be a joke,
Yeah.
right?
I was like, Mexican judo. Is that really a
They
thing?
don't
I was
know.
like,
They let me edit it, and I wrote that down. And then someone from a media outlet, I won't name it because I don't want to make fun of them.
Okay, gotcha.
They said Dan plans on taking this fight to the ground using his Mexican style judo. And I had to repost it, and I was dying. I'm like, oh,
yeah, yeah.
that was a joke, guys. And it was a serious MMA outlet. I was like, oh.
That's the first thing I thought was that joke. You don't know if I have a gun. You don't know if I have an. Hey, that's a
Oh
joke,
my
right?
God,
So
right,
when he
right,
said that, I was like, okay, all right. MMA has really changed over the years. You know what I'm saying? So, okay, so Mexican judo was a joke, right?
Yeah, it was a joke.
If you're fighting an opponent, what style do you think, like, I really need to step it up? Is it kickboxing, Muay Thai, boxing, wrestling, or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Which one is the most that you're like, híjole, I gotta really be careful because he can really
You know
hurt me?
what? I feel like I equally suck at all.
There you go.
Okay.
That's good. It opens the doors for improvement for everything.
Yeah,
You
you
know?
gotta go into the gym and focus on all of them
Yep.
because in each one of them, there's someone out there that you're probably gonna have to fight that's better than you. If I just focus on, you ever play the boxing video games? You remember the Fight Night games?
Absolutely. I play them all the time.
Do you play the UFC video game?
I haven't played the UFC.
Okay.
I
But I
played
played the
before.
fight
Okay,
night.
so
Yeah.
do you know how like you could train your guy and like if you train too much speed, his
Right.
strength goes down. If
Mhm.
you train too much strength, his stamina will go down.
Yep.
This is real.
It's real life.
This is real.
Yeah.
You train too much boxing, your jiu-jitsu goes down.
Yep.
You train too much kickboxing, your boxing goes down. You know, you train too much wrestling, you start losing your tricks in jiu-jitsu. You train too much jiu-jitsu over wrestling, now you're getting too comfortable getting taken down. Like, it's for real. That's why, like, when you ask that question, it's like all of them are scary depending on who you're fighting. And I'm
Yeah.
fighting at the biggest stage in the world.
Yes, sir.
There's a person in every single aspect that can get me.
My older brother trains with Miguel Torres over there in Indiana, and he tells me the same thing. He was like, I gotta focus on one because if not, you start to lose a little bit of that edge on the other side. And it's like it's a good tidbit to know. I didn't know that.
Suck it all.
Right.
You go into the gym like that. I suck at all of them. You're gonna come out better at all of them at least. But if I say, "Oh, I'm too good at this," I gotta work on that. That's a
You're leaving yourself
terrible.
open for
That's a terrible attitude.
Couple final questions. One I wanted to know is your nickname is the Determined. What's the backstory to that? Like, what was the reason why you gave yourself the Determined?
So that was actually Coach Izzy Martinez, the guy
Yeah.
who he owns his wrestling school in Addison. He's the wrestling coach at Jackson Wink Academy. He brought me out there for the first time to work with Holly Holm, and my attitude right away towards the sport was, I'm doing this. This is all I think about. This is all I think about. I run, I train, I eat, correct. Everything I'm doing is that, all for one goal. Okay, a world championship one day. We're not even thinking about getting to the UFC. Just thinking about a UFC world championship.
Yeah.
We know I'm going to get to the UFC, but it's going to be all those challenges to get to that belt. That's when it gets hard. But I was determined to hit every single milestone and get there. I've hit every single milestone since he gave me that name. And the Determined. And yesterday, someone said, "Sounds, the way you live your life, and the disciplined." I was like, "Yeah,
That sounds pretty good too.
No, I mean, no,
that sounds
for sure.
pretty good too.
One more question for him before we.
I have 100 questions. I wish we had more time because this is very interesting. I really want to. This is dope. This is dope. You come from Chicago. You're a Latino. You're determined. I mean, we need heroes like this, bro. I swear to God, this is just like so.
I couldn't have done it without my parents.
Without
My
your parents?
family, my parents. My parents were actually on the north side when they were teenagers, where they met.
Yeah.
My dad came from Guatemala. My mom came from Honduras, and they molded me. To the point where I couldn't leave that type of family structure. I couldn't leave it. I go to New Mexico and I meet a Hispanic girl. Then her family values are the same exact as mine, and I'm like,
There you go.
I can't escape it.
There you go.
Can't escape it. It's everywhere.
Right.
And out there, I even with like her family, you always got eyes on you. I'm out here. My mom's always making sure that I'm being a good boy. My dad's making sure that I'm working hard. I go out there, same exact thing. Her father knows who I am. Her father used to be a pro kickboxer, a Division I wrestler. They understand the life. They understand the sport. They understand what I should and shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
It's badass. Being back home and knowing that there's a people don't know that I exist here. People don't know that there's a Latino fighter from Illinois. From the southwest suburbs. I've been coming to Chicago my whole life. This is where my parents have made businesses. This is where I've had family friends.
Right.
This is where it happens, and it's nice to be back and get recognition. For
Absolutely, yeah. Chicago, you better take notice. Y'all better take notice because this man's legit. He's for real. He's gonna be a UFC champion one day. I see it for sure.
I bet.
100%.
I bet 100%.
Thanks.
Last question. You kind of answered it, but I have to ask you. All right. Are fighters born or are they made? Were you born a fighter or were you made a fighter?
Some are born, some are made. I believe that I was born to be made a fighter.
There you go.
I was bred for it.
There you go.
When you're bred for it, you're either going to be slaughtered or you're going to make it to the show. You're going to make it to that nice show where they slap a ribbon on the cow and they say, "Look at the shoulders on this one." I was bred for it. My parents put me in wrestling at a young age. My dad just kind of looked at me. I was the same build as him, but he didn't have the opportunity to wrestle. Same way our parents didn't have toys growing up. We all had all these toys and shit. He didn't have those opportunities. He gave those opportunities to me. So it was, I was bred. I was bred for it. My dad has asked me questions like, I have friends that grew up a pretty rough past, some of the roughest, where I'm like, how are you still here? Having to tell them that is not normal. That is not normal
Behavior.
or even an experience. That's not a normal experience to have gone through as a kid. And they're like, really? I'm like, yeah, really. That's not right. And my dad had to ask me, when did you realize you weren't like those guys? You know, like these guys on TV. You know the guys.
Yeah, right.
You know those guys. I was like, oh, I knew right away. And he was like, really? And you kept going? I was like, yeah. You know why I kept going? Those guys had excuses. They have excuses. They have excuses to behave that way. They have excuses if they don't come up with their hand raised. They get to say, oh, it's because this happened to me when I was a kid. If that wouldn't have happened, if I was put in his shoes, that would have.
I would have had it already. Yeah.
I don't have any excuses. I don't get that luxury to fail. You know, it's all on me if I fail.
Right.
I don't get to say, oh, I literally had it all mapped out. I had it. It was almost like a damn video game.
Yeah. Dan, the determined Argueta.
That's
We
right.
appreciate you coming in today, man, for sure.
Yes,
100%. Guys, make sure to tune into his fight January 14th, correct?
Mhm.
January 14th, man's going to win. I'm saying it out there. I'm putting it out there right
Win.
now for you. We're going to win.
Win.
We're going to win.
He's gonna win. He's gonna win.
We appreciate
He's gonna
you.
win.
We appreciate you.
Dan, where can they find you on social media if they want to start following your journey?
On Instagram at Dan_the_determined. And my phone number is, don't worry.
No.
You can Google it probably.
No,
now.
we can do anything. Right, wrap us up. Let's go.
All right. So I appreciate you for coming out today, sitting down with us, answering some questions. I wish you nothing but love and success in your UFC journey. I believe you will be the champ. I am also putting it out on the universe. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. This is Chicagoland Sports Radio, and we are live on Illinois Media School Facebook page. I am Alex the One, getting it done, your Latino extraordinaire, signing off with
Jose Contreras, guys. Thank you. And make sure to follow us at Illinois Media School. Follow Dan the Determined because he's going to do great things here. I promise you.
all right. Till next time, y'all. ChicagolandSportsRadio.com.